Alright, it's taken me almost half a day, but got the transmission, W58 back in Sc300. All I have left to do is bolt up cross member, attach the slave and bleed it, and drive shaft and rear end. So I'm not that far off, but I ran into a few snags. For one thing, I don't think that these transmissions were made to come in and out of the car with the engine in the car. It's extremely hard. We got to have a really long extension, probably about 4 feet worth of extensions like this, about 4 feet of those to get to the top bolts. What I had to do for the install is undo the top motor mounts. They're here and on the other side. Just undo them a little bit, and then what I did is I used the front tow hook here, and like they had this engine hoist, and I just lifted it up as much as it'll go without crushing all the stuff in the back here too much, and that gave me an angle so I could actually get that transmission back up in there. But it was pretty tough. I guess one thing is you leave it in gear, put a drive shaft in the back so you can turn the input shaft as you're putting it in there to get it in the clutch. Also the fork, shift fork on the W58 has to be installed with the pilot bearing before you put the transmission in. So it hits the firewall, makes it kind of hard to deal with. But you kind of got to go in at an angle and you can get it in there. So, let's see. The R154, you don't have to install the slave and the shift fork first. You can do that after, so it makes it a lot easier. So fork just snaps in from the outside. W58, you got to put the throwout bearing and the shift fork together first, transmission out, and then you got to install it to the transmission and install it all at once. So it makes it a little harder, although clutch jobs are a little easier because you don't have to turn the crank to get all the pressure plate bolts. With the W58 R154, you got to get all the pressure plate bolts loose and out before you can take the transmission out. Let's see. I ran into another snag with this shifter. When the guy shipped it to me, I didn't even realize that. Well, the guy that rebuilt the transmission said that the control shaft that the shifter attaches to that selects the gear was a little bent during shipping. Guy didn't properly take care when he shipped it to me, so he bent that control shaft a little bit, and we were wondering when I picked it up at the rebuilder if it was going to be okay. So I figured, yeah, well, I'll just give it a shot, and it seemed like it was going to be okay. And I get it in the car with the stock shifter, and the damn thing's not wanting to go into fourth gear. So I had first, second, third, fifth, and reverse. It just wouldn't select fourth. So what I thought of is that it was putting the bracket that connects to the control shaft down at the very bottom. It was putting it at an upwards angle a little too much with that bend, to where that it was kind of bent like this a little bit. It was putting that for fourth gear where it has to come back and tight. The bracket was just wrapping around like this too much. It was just kind of closing and not selecting the gear. So what I did was, luckily I had this C's replica shifter that I was using. It's actually made for W58. It's sold on eBay for a while. I haven't seen them in a long time, a couple years, but it has a longer rod. I'll show you. It's a stock shifter. This rod on the short shifters is actually about as long as this whole piece, so it's about this much longer. And what that did is, luckily, it put the shifter at enough of an angle to where that it'll select all the gears. I mean, it's tight. Second, it's hard to do from this side, but I got fourth now, third, fifth. I mean, and it feels good. I mean, it feels really good. Third, it's getting fourth every time, no problem. So I kind of averted a minor disaster and having to pull the tranny again and having somebody take that top control shaft out. So hopefully when I fire it up, it'll go into all the gears and feel as good as it does right now, which is, if you're in a driver's side, it's a lot easier, but I mean, it's nice and tight. I mean, it feels really good. So I think you averted a minor disaster, and hopefully you don't run into anything like that. I doubt it, but so what I gotta do is bolt on a slave, which I gotta go get a couple bolts because I misplaced them. I didn't have them. So a couple bolts, and I can bolt that sucker in, hook up all the reverse lights again, and drive shaft in the rear end, and be done with it. Test it out. Hopefully it's all good.